Welcome to the HerStory Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the HerStory Circle. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. Today, on the first day of our online summit, I have the pleasure of bringing on one of our speakers for tomorrow, who is coming to us all the way from the United States. So Debbi is a professional development coach, a trainer, a speaker, who's dedicated to helping individuals and organizations unlock potential through vision boards and empowerment workshops. With a background in early childhood leadership, she inspires her clients worldwide to clarify goals, embrace growth, and design lives of purpose, joy, and impact. Welcome to our tribe, Debbi. Tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Hi, so my name is Debbi Sluys, and I'm in Ontario, Canada. And I spent 30 years, as Gertrude was saying, in childcare. And the reason that's important is because I really appreciate play-based learning. And so what we know, if you are around children, if you have children yourself, you'll know that they learn best when they're curious, when they are interested in what they're playing with, and they love to have fun, and they like to figure things out. And so I love that about children. And so that's how I got into childcare. And as I said, I spent 30 years there. I started as an early childhood educator myself. And I was in the basement of an organization running their school-age summer program, day camp program. And within 2 months, the supervisor there had left. And she decided that she did not want to be an administrator and it was not for her. So I applied for the job. I was the youngest and I was the newest employee. And suddenly I was leading a team of 12 educators working with families and children. And so I grew the organization along with my board of directors. It was not for profit. Till 5 years ago, when I left, we had a team of about 75. We had 4 locations, and we were serving just under 500 children daily, from infant up to school age. And so through the years, I had many visions of wanting this beautiful, optimal childhood for children that attended our centers. What I really wanted was, when children became adults, I had this idea that when they drove past the childcare, they'd say, "That's where I went when I was little." And I loved the smell of banana bread when I came in the mornings. And I loved the smiles of the teachers when I came in and played. And I loved being there with my friends. In other words, I wanted children to have this most optimal childhood. That was my dream and my vision. And so about 15 years ago, 20 years ago, I was approached by leaders in my community who said, "Deb, we'd like you to pilot this new way of being with children." So before that, it had been very much theme-based, meaning every week would have a different theme, maybe teddy bears or the alphabet or colors. And it wasn't necessarily what the children were interested in. And so I knew there had to be a better way with kids, but I wasn't really sure what that was all about. And so it was actually coming out of Australia, coming out of Italy, Reggio Italy, this idea of emergent programming, play-based learning. And so it was really radical at the time, and it was much more child-led. And so we just piloted it in one of our playrooms with preschool children. And what happened was the behaviors, and I put this in air quotes, went down. The staff were so much happier as well. The children, the families, it was such a radical change in the whole environment. And then when we rolled it out to our full childcare, it just changed the culture of our organization. And so people around in my province started to ask, what's going on at your childcare? Like, we hear such good stories. And so I started to tell my story. I was doing public speaking and sharing about the benefits of play-based learning, how child-led play was so beneficial for the child's development. And that led into workshops, public speaking, as I said. And I realized, maybe I'm meant for something bigger. And so that was the first really inner nudge that I had, that potentially I could impact people, women, on a much bigger level. And so I started to research online what would be something that would be interesting and light me up. And I found vision boards. And so my mentor, Jack Canfield, Chicken Soup for the Soul, perhaps you've heard of his book series. He wrote the Success Principles. He was in the movie The Secret. I found his videos on YouTube and I started to watch all of his videos. I just thought, wow, this sounds so incredible, is that you can create your life from your vision. And imagining what you want, and then it will come true. So like Bob Proctor says, if you can hold it in your head, you can hold it in your hand. That just seems so incredible to me. And so as I researched and got various sources, I created my own curriculum. And then with the help of my husband, we created a studio where people could come and do vision boards in person. And it was on the second floor of my husband's warehouse. He owned a building supply company. And so I opened up in 2018. I went to Boston to hear Jack Canfield in person and just was like so enamored with him. I sat in the cheap seats and I wrote in my workbook that day, I said, I will do a big training with Jack Canfield one day. I closed my workbook. And so I was doing vision board workshops on the weekends. I was taking some vacation days, all with the blessing of my board of directors, because they could see the influence that all this positive personal development was happening for me, that I was able to pass along to our team and creating this beautiful culture within our organization. And so then I was privy to be part of my grandson's birth. And my daughter had my first grandson. He's 5 now, but I was able to be there. And at night, as we were laying in bed together, the baby snuggled beside us, all swaddled, she said to me, Mom, why don't you leave your job? And I said, like, to step into it full time and step into my vision board business full time, that felt so scary, to let go of that paycheck that I've been hanging on to. And so that was a seed that was planted. And then then I went to a conference I was speaking at, and I heard these 2 questions. The first was, what's the price you're paying for not following your dream? And I thought, wow, it's really high. I had been under a lot of stress and it was starting to show physically to me and for me. And then she followed up with this question, what's the price those around you are paying for you not following your dream? And I thought about my new grandson. I thought about my daughter. And so I decided then that I was going to leave my job. And so I gave my notice to my board of directors, and that was in January 2020. Unbeknownst to me and the rest of the world was about to shut down. And there was no way I could do my vision board workshops in the way that I had been doing them. And so all of a sudden, I had no income. And I didn't know at that point, like, what am I going to do? Am I going to go ask for my job back? But instead, I leaned into the work that I teach, which I had chosen a power word or a word for my year that year, which was generous. And I showed up generous, and I hired a coach. I created a workshop online, a vision board workshop online, which then led me to understand that globally, no one was doing vision boards like me. I had no idea. And from that, I was then able to create an academy where I now train trainers. We have just under 60 trainers who are using my proven process using vision boards with their clients and getting extraordinary results. Since then, coming back out of COVID, I created a magazine so that now I can travel and offer retreats worldwide with my vision board magazine as well. It's available on Amazon. And I created a goal planner, which is the secondary piece to the vision boards, where people now can write out their goals in what they really want, and see it come to fruition, because vision and goals and purpose are all part of this continuum of manifestation. And so the other last piece is I now get to work with my daughter. My daughter started working for me full time. So thinking about full circle, when we laid there in bed together in that hospital bed, and she asked me, Mom, why don't you leave your job? I did it for me, but now I actually have had this ripple effect where now she's actually joined my company as well.
What an incredible story. This is so inspiring. I just can't believe it, Debbi. Now, what intrigues me is that you've worked with thousands of people across Canada, the US, Australia, the UK. What common theme do you see in women worldwide when it comes to their dreams and limitations?
I believe that one of the books that addresses this currently right now is Jamie Kern Lima's book, Worthy. And so if you haven't read that book, I highly recommend it. And I believe that ultimately women do not believe that they are worthy of their dreams. And that for whatever reason, the belief system is that others are worthy of it, or they, can give to their family, to their spouse, to their employer. But to ask for something for themselves, like when I ask women, what do you want? It's like they say, I don't know. They do know, but they're not even giving themselves permission to want. And then it gets down deeper in terms of worth. So I would say that that's probably the lowest piece, that talking about worth, and then also seeing what's been holding them back and what lies they've been believing about themselves and about the world and about how this all works, is something that we get to uncover together.
Mhm. Now, many women fear burnout. How do vision boards help them to reconnect with passion instead of exhaustion?
Well, a vision board is not a to-do list. It is to fire up positive emotions on what you really want. So I lay out 7 areas. However, if I have a woman who's very burnt out, we can maybe look even at just starting with 3, which might be, work. It may be relationships. It could be personal health. Those 3 areas just to even begin with. And so getting really clear. Clarity is another really beautiful antidote to overwhelm, is getting clear. What do I want? And seeing it laid out visually so that it raises your vibration is such a beautiful way to combat feeling overwhelmed, feeling burnt out. So I would say having that vision board and focusing on it daily.
It's interesting because you and I kind of share a very similar journey. And I think we laughed about this when we first met, that I also started creating vision boards when The Secret came out. And literally in 6 months, I had pictures of Bob Proctor, John DeMartini, Reverend Michael Beckwith, Jack Canfield on a vision board. And I would come back from a business trip to the US and I'm in the picture with them. I literally met everybody who was on my vision board except for Oprah, which was really quite fascinating. But it's almost as if you just have to decide on what the end picture looks like. You don't have to figure out how. And I think a lot of women make the mistake. They go into how, and then they think, I don't have the money, I don't have the skills, I don't have the time, and all the I don't haves kill the dream before you even start, right? So focusing on the end goal is what that vision board did for me anyway. It was really quite fascinating. Now, how can creating a vision board shift someone's relationship with money and financial security?
Mm-hmm. Before I answer that question, I just wanted to circle back to something that I had said earlier about how I had written in my book, I Will Do a Big Training with Jack Canfield. And that was back in 2018, closed my book. And what just manifested 2 months ago, in fact, was I was at an in-person, his final live event actually in California. And I was called up on stage and I was talking about vision boards, and they called me up and said, here's the vision board queen. And so to know that just a mere 7 years ago, I was sitting in the cheap seats, listening to him and just starting my business, to now being on the very stage, presenting with vision boards, is like, this is the proof that this stuff works. So yeah. So to answer your question, so your question was about relationships and money. Is that what you were
Yes,
asking me? Okay. So
correct.
well, we could talk about your relationship with money, which would be kind of interesting. But and one of the people, I was going to give a shout out to Ken Honda. I have met him actually through the Canfield group, and he wrote a book called Happy Money, and he really talks about this idea of happy money, not just happy when you receive it, but also happy when you spend it, so that you have this emotion of gratitude, that you can pay for groceries, that you can pay for electricity for your home, that you get to pay for gifts that you give to your children and friends. And so it's money coming in with gratitude, but money going out with gratitude, and this beautiful flow. So I really appreciate his whole disposition of money. And so I actually discourage, like I have, as I said, my magazine, and I don't have any images of money in it. Because
Right.
if you look, most people put money on their board, but as you indicated earlier, that is a how. Money is a how. Money is the energy between the vision and the actual purchase. And so the vision is larger than money. Like, we're not going to just decorate our houses with coins and money. So so going beyond the idea of simply having more money, what does that experience feel like? What does that look like? I have a check that you can write, but even then I ask people not to take up valuable real estate on their vision board, but put it on the back, so that check then is going to fund all of the experiences that represent your self-image on the front of the board. And so that's what I would say about money. And it's more about this freedom of money, that you're able to be. It's all about the being, not the having. Like, who do I get to be? That version of me. That's what's represented on the board.
Oh, I love that. So, how can creating a vision board help women, especially guilt, right? Guilt often stops women from claiming freedom of time. What breakthrough moments have you witnessed where clients release that guilt?
When they give themselves permission to ask. So asking for what you want. And
Mhm.
so I use the example of the universal laws, like the law of attraction, the law of vibration, like a cosmic waitress. If you were to go into, the restaurant in the sky, and you were to walk in, and this cosmic waitress comes up to you and she says, "What do you want?" And you say, "I'll have a hamburger." And she says, "Okay." And she comes back, 10 minutes later with a plate and a brown hamburger on it. You're going to say, "Hey, where's the bun and the ketchup, relish, mustard, and a side of fries?" She says, "Well, you didn't ask for that." So when women give themselves permission to get clear on what they want, then and also realizing, if you're faith-based, we can talk about the creator and how, as a father, he loves to give his children good gifts. And so so if the woman herself is a mother, she can also know what that feels like to give gifts to her children. Like,
Yeah.
there's something beautiful about the giving. And so if we're always blocking the receiving, like, I don't want it, it's not honoring the giver. And so when I support women to fully open themselves up to be able to receive, because it's the whole manifestation process is in 3 words: ask, believe, and receive. So
Um,
ask and receiving are the bookends. So you need to ask for what you want, but then you need to be open to receive it. And
mhm.
oftentimes women, they will get to the point where, like, okay, you know what? I get it. I'm going to ask. And then I'm going to believe, because I've seen it happen with other people. I've seen how Gertrude, like you just said, like, I did this and 6 months later I'm on stages, and I've seen people that have achieved it, but it's the
Yeah.
receiving piece that gets really sneaky,
Yes.
because what happens is we can only ask from a lens of our current circumstances and our past experiences. And so
Wow.
we only have a vantage point, not a vision point. But what's been received is coming from the divine, and is coming from so much bigger than we can have experienced. And so
Yes.
oftentimes what comes to us is bigger and better than what we asked. And so that it can look different. And sometimes that can be overwhelming, or we think, oh no, that's not for us, because then that worth issue shows up again. We think, oh no, that can't be for me. It's too big. It's too incredible. It's like,
Yeah.
no, here it is. It's on a silver platter. And so the asking and receiving go hand in hand. And that's the part where I love to support women to be open to do both.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that openness to receive is something you actually have to consciously remember, that you can't just ask with a closed fist. Your hand has to be open to receive the gifts that you've put out there. I love it. Now, you turned your dream into a studio and a business. What steps of manifestation are most critical in making it a reality?
So I would say the very first step is to listen. So create space to listen to as I said to you, I had this inner nudge, even when I was really successful in my previous career. I was talking on stages, I was doing various things, and I had the inner nudge, and I thought it was just me. And now I go around the world and people tell me, oh no, I have that inner nudge as well. I have that whisper, which says, you're meant for something bigger. There's more for you. You have a big purpose. And so I know that I'm not alone in that. People are hearing this inner nudge and this whisper. And so, but the key is then to listen to it and to take the next inspired as well as obvious action. So that would be step 2, is
Mhm.
to listen to the nudge, and then begin to see where opportunities, what's the next step for me to do. And so in my case, it was to flip on my computer and to begin to research. I was like, what is it that's going to spark me? And so following my intuition, and seeing where it was connecting with, and that's actually part of my vision board process. I also have it where images, I support my clients to find them intuitively as well, to allow the intuition to work, to
Yes.
guide them to their images, but then to take the obvious action. So for me, the obvious action was then to hire an expert. So that would be number 3, to take that obvious action, to surround yourself with people that are up to really big things, who know more than you do, and to trust them. And so for me, it was about setting up shop, which was getting a website, getting a email list, and to register my company. And I always was, and now this is a bonus, like you don't have to do this, but for me as a visionary, my business was bigger than what was on paper, meaning that for example, I incorporated far before I had any business being incorporated. I did,
Wow.
but I knew that I would need to be and want to
Yes.
be. So I set up the business for the vision I had for it.
Oh, I love that. That's really smart. You were not playing small. You saw that this is much bigger than what it looked. That's beautiful. So, what do you say to skeptics who think that vision boards are just pictures on a piece of paper?
I'd say they are. They are just pictures on a piece of paper. It's what you make of them. And so,
Wow.
money is just a piece of paper,
Yeah.
but there's all kinds of currency. It's just what the meaning is, and we have made it mean something. And so when you can allow it to create an energy within you, an emotion. So it is just
Mhm.
a piece of paper until you attach a meaning to it, an emotion to it. So when you can actually see yourself in that beautiful trip to Scotland, or you can imagine yourself in that incredible relationship with this partner that is loving and respectful and walking hand in hand, and there's friendship and intimacy. When you can see the image that represents all of that and allow yourself to visualize and allow that image to be a representation of that, that's when you connect to the neuroscience, which is actually, it changes the composition of your brain. And then you begin to have more pathways that help you notice where those opportunities are to meet that ideal person. And maybe they're already right there and you just haven't even noticed.
I love it. Now, you've been featured on Jack Canfield's Success TV and the High Performing Coach podcast. What insights or affirmations did those platforms give you about the power of your work?
Well, I think, as I said earlier, being a client and really a student of Jack's work and sitting in the the cheap seat, so to speak, at his event, and then being in his home in Santa Barbara and being interviewed for my academy work that I was doing, where I'm training trainers using his work. Like, that was so affirming, like to hear him say, and now we have Debbi Sluys from Ontario, Canada, here to share about vision boards. And I was like, pinch me, is this my life? Like, how is this happening? And so it is so affirming. And, I tell people all the time, I teach this and I know it works, but when it does, when there's a manifestation that happens, and every time I get tingles and my jaw drops open and I'm like, it works. It's so incredible. It works. So what it did was it really encouraged me to keep moving forward. And one of the beautiful things was our little conversation that we had after the interview. Two things happened. One was I asked Jack, what could I do to be more successful? And the second was I asked, how can I support you? And it popped out of my mouth before I even realized, like, oh, like, who am I to say that, right? Like the imposter saboteur was quieted in that moment. And so his answers were, you could write a chapter in my next book. So if you don't ask, you don't receive, right? So I asked him, how can I support you? And he in turn gave me an opportunity to write a chapter in his next book. And then the other was, how can I be more successful? And then he gave me brilliant advice. And he said, get into a mastermind or create one. And so I have done so ever since. And my quantum leaps have been because I've been in a mastermind. I created my academy because of my mastermind. I created my magazine because of my mastermind. And it continues to be that. I'm working on a big conference next year and I consult my mastermind. I meet with amazing women. Right now, I'm actually in 3. 2 I created, so I'm leading them. And the other is more, again, my colleagues, where we've been meeting now for a couple of years every week. And it's just so incredible. So I would say for the listener, if you're not in a mastermind, go get yourself into a mastermind. Listen to Jack's advice because it's brilliant.
I absolutely love it. That's just absolutely crazy. But this just goes to show that you've got to believe in your dreams. Until you believe in what you see in your head, nobody else will. Nobody else will see it unless you see it and you articulate it and you bring it out there. So what would you say to someone who's feeling stuck and unclear about their purpose? And what's the very first action you recommend they take, even before creating a vision board?
2 things. I would say start with gratitude. You can't be angry or even in a state of depression if you are feeling grateful. And perhaps your current circumstances, you can't even see past the chaos, past all the stress. Go back into your past, even if it's into your childhood, and get the glimpses of the things where you can see that everything worked out, that everything was exactly the way it's supposed to be. And go back to those and feel the gratitude and thanksgiving for those moments, those people, those resources that were brought to you. So I would say start with gratitude. I actually have a practice that I've been doing now for a number of weeks where every morning when I wake up, as I'm kind of getting into this, I forget what kind of brain waves those are. There's a certain brain wave where it's very creative, but I'm a Christian, so I pray in gratitude, and I pray based on the previous day, and I pick out moments in my mind that are like pictures. Not everyone has that ability to do that, but for me, of course, I'm very visual, and so I choose these moments and I feel this gratitude. But then it's radical gratitude where I think into my schedule for the coming day, and I feel gratitude before it has yet even occurred. And so feeling grateful for like this call here. And because I knew, like, I kind of went through my schedule in my mind's eye of what will be happening. And that brings beautiful energy and peace into the day. So that's my first suggestion. And my second is to create a word for your year. Now, I call it a power word. I'm actually writing a book about this because it's been so incredibly successful for my clients, where you choose one word that embodies who you are. So we talked about worthy. So maybe it's worthy, but perhaps it may be love, or it may be grace. Or I had some clients who have just felt so low, so inauthentic, that their word is me, that I am me. And
Oh,
so it's just so empowering, so that when you're stuck in traffic or you get a health diagnosis or the children are acting up, you can say to yourself to reset that thermostat. We have an internal thermostat that gets to be, fight, flight, or freeze, or hot and cold. But you decide to set the temperature with your word that brings you back into that self-regulation, to help
wow.
you self-regulate, to say, I am. And so that's a really great place to start.
That's beautiful. I want to share a little video that I recorded at Bob Proctor's house. I actually came to Toronto to work
Ah,
with Bob. He had a chairman's club that I got involved with before he died. And I plucked up the courage, like you're saying, to ask him to endorse my little coaching program that I had started at the time. And it's called the Visioneering Toolbox. And so this is Bob Proctor before he passed away, endorsing my little toolbox.
Hello there, I'm Bob Proctor from The Secret, and it's a real pleasure to me to be working with Gertrude and her Visioneering Toolbox. Do you know, everything that has ever been created, from the camera that's recording this right now to the monitor that you're watching on, all started with a vision in someone's mind. Do you know that the highest function that you're capable of is building visions? And everything that's going to come to your life in the future of any consequence is going to come because of the visions that you build. If you want to learn how to put the higher faculties of your mind to proper use, get this toolkit and put it to good use. Do you know you can have anything you want? I know it may sound like a gross exaggeration, but I get what I want. Gertrude's getting what she wants, because that's what we do. We're visionaries. And when you get visioneering, your whole life will change. Do what I tell you. Don't even look sideways. Don't ask anybody what they think you should do. Do what I'm suggesting. You'll never make another mistake as long as you live, when you learn to build the right vision. This is Bob Proctor. Thank you.
So that was a real manifestation for me. Not just meeting Bob Proctor, but being in his home and plucking up the courage for him to endorse my coaching program. So I absolutely love what you've done, Debbi, with your life. It's like an embodiment of what visioneering is all about. It really excites me to meet you. So I'm going to end our interview with two last questions. In the one, I'm going to teleport you back. And we're going to go into your past, to that woman who was making a decision to leave her safe day job, the paycheck, to build a new life where she could be with her daughter and be there for her grandchildren. A lot of our followers, like I told you, are women over 50, widowed, separated, divorced, about to retire, and on the cusp of making these major life decisions. So if you could go back and give her 3 nuggets of wisdom based on what life has taught you up until this point, what would those 3 nuggets of wisdom be?
I would say, well, what Bob was saying around not even asking anyone else, because I've had it where people have said, why don't you just retire? Just relax. And so this is me relaxed. This is me making an impact and doing exactly what I want to do. So listening to that inner nudge versus listening to others, I think I would say that, like, stay focused on what you want to do. And then the second piece is, as I said, surround yourself with experts, but also with people that are encouragers, which means that you might have to leave other people behind, in that there may be friendships that no longer serve you. They're not at the level that you are in terms of your positivity and where you want to go, and how you have a vision and you have goals and you want to be, as Bob Proctor talks about, just a little bit better. And so don't be afraid to let those friendships go, but also know that there's new ones that will be filling in that space. Continue to look for those beautiful friendships and they will appear. And then the last thing I would say to her is to love yourself. And I was really focused on my business. I was focused on serving others. But I show up best when I am loving the me that. So loving the me that is aging, loving the me that has put on a little bit of COVID weight, loving the me that gets excited about things. And so really accepting this version of me and taking off the masks, showing up authentically as her, is going to bring in the very best clients. And then I'm going to be able to serve powerfully. So those would be my 3 nuggets I would give to that version of me.
Fantastic. Now let's teleport into the future, and we're going to go and have a conversation with the 90-year-old you. And she's sitting in her rocking chair. Maybe she's on a dance floor with science and technology. I don't see you sitting down. But let's imagine that you're sitting there surrounded by your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, and you could go and have a conversation with a 90-year-old you, this wise woman who has led you up until that point. What will you say to her when you finally meet her?
So the 90-year-old version, I would say that, or what she would say to me, I believe, is she would say to me, get into your Bible, stay close to the Lord, and pray every day. And always keep in mind your family. And the reason also why you're doing this is for legacy work. But trust yourself. And so what I would say to her is, thank you. Thank you for staying healthy, for moving your body, for eating well, getting enough sleep. And I love you.
Absolutely fantastic. Debbi, thank you so much for coming online and sharing your story with our community today. Absolutely fascinating to have met you. Really looking forward to your presentation tomorrow. So everybody tune in again tomorrow. Debbi will be sharing more of her nuggets of wisdom in her speech during the HerStory Online Summit. Take care, Debbi. Thank you again so much.
Bye now. Thank you.
And thank you to everybody who tuned in. The HerStory Circle is not just a podcast. We're a social impact movement that brings you the stories and voices of women from all over the world. We share our stories to uplift you, to inspire you, to energize you, but most importantly, to take you from where you are now to where you're trying to go. So if you are a woman who has a dream, if you have a vision you want to bring to life, here's an expert who can help you do it. I've got Debbi's website at the bottom of the screen. Please reach out. Don't try and do it the hard way. There's experts out there that can show you the shortcut, can show you the steps to make it easy to bring your dreams into reality. I'll be back again tomorrow, everybody, with yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world, and bye for now. Thanks again, Debbi. Thank you for tuning into the HerStory Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the HerStory Circle podcast for more updates. And join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making her story. Wonderful.